Me, 38. Work as social worker for nonprofit in Seattle. Specifically work with homeless outreach program. Been doing this for 8 years now, passionate about it. Also very active in feminist circles and advocacy. See homelessness as social justice issue, systemic failure. Believe strongly that society fails vulnerable populations. My job is connecting homeless people with resources. Shelters, food programs, medical care, job training. Usually work with women and families mostly. They're easier to help, more willing to accept services, more likely to follow through on programs. Men are trickier, more resistant to help, often have addiction or mental health issues. Sometimes just stubborn, refuse assistance. Always assumed it was pride or shame, or maybe mental illness preventing them from seeing clearly. There's one guy I see regularly on my route. Corner of Pike and 3rd, same spot every day. Mid-40s probably, looks rough, but not the worst. Clean enough, not visibly intoxicated usually. Has a sign that says homeless vet, anything helps. I've tried talking to him dozens of times over past year. Offering resources, shelter information, meal programs. He always politely declines, says he's fine. No thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it though. Always polite, always firm, always refuses. Frustrates me because I know I could help him. Know the system, know the programs, know how to navigate it. If he just let me, I could get him off the street. Get him into transitional housing, job training. But he won't even engage in conversation about it. Today I'm doing my usual Friday route. Checking on people, distributing resource cards. See him at his usual corner, sitting with his sign. Decide to try again. Maybe today will be different. Walk up with my clipboard and resource folders. Hi, I'm Jennifer from Seattle Homeless Outreach. We've talked before. I wanted to see if... He cuts me off gently but firmly. I remember you, and I appreciate what you do. But I've told you before, I'm not interested. Feel frustration rising. Why won't he accept help? Can I just ask why not? Why won't you let me help you? We have programs that could get you off the street. Shelters, job training, medical care, everything you need. He's quiet for a moment, considering. You really want to know why? Yes, I genuinely want to understand. Because I see you out here every day, and I know I could help. He gestures to the spot next to him on the sidewalk. Sit down for a minute then, I'll explain. Hesitate, not usual protocol to sit with clients. But curiosity wins. I sit down with some distance. He's looking at me with expression I can't quite read. Not hostile, not grateful, just tired and knowing. What's your name, he asks. Jennifer. Okay, Jennifer. I'm Robert. Nice to officially meet you. We shake hands. His grip is firm despite circumstances. So you want to know why I won't go to the shelters? Why I won't accept your help and get off the street? Nod, genuinely curious now. It's not one reason, it's a lot of reasons. But mainly it's because your system isn't built for men like me. Confused by this. What do you mean it's for everyone? He laughs, but it's bitter sound. Is it though? Let's talk about shelters first. How many beds in women's shelters versus men's shelters in Seattle? Don't have exact numbers offhand. I don't know the exact ratio, but there are men's shelters. There are 3 women's shelters with 450 beds total. There are 2 men's shelters with 180 beds total. For a homeless population, that's 65% male. The math on that is stark when stated plainly. So on any given night, the shelters are full. And it's first come, first serve. You have to line up at 3 p.m. If you're working, even part-time, even day labor, you can't get there by 3 p.m., so you don't get a bed. Never thought about that practical barrier. And assuming you do get a bed, you know what it's like. 60 men in one room, bunk beds, no privacy. Your belongings get stolen. You get lice, bed bugs. People are high, withdrawing, mentally ill, violent. It's not safe, it's not restful, it's just a roof. He's speaking from experience, clear, detailed knowledge. I've been assaulted twice in shelters, once badly. Had my only decent pair of shoes stolen. Caught scabies that took months to treat. After the 3rd time, I decided the street was safer. This isn't what the brochures say, what I tell people. but it's still better than being outside in winter. He shakes his head. Is it though? I have a tent, a good sleeping bag. I have a spot under a bridge that's dry. I can lock my stuff up, keep myself relatively safe. I'm not crammed in a room with 60 unstable men, not breathing recycled air full of disease, not dealing with bed bugs and theft. Starting to see his perspective, the calculation he's made. What about the other programs, job training services? He sighs like he's explained this before. Let me ask you something, Jennifer. What do you think happened to me? What's your assumption about why I'm homeless? Think about it, the usual reasons. Addiction, mental illness, bad choices, maybe job loss. He nods. That's what everyone assumes. That I'm either an addict, crazy, or made bad decisions. What if I told you none of those are true? This surprises me. Then why are you here? I'm a veteran, served in Iraq, honorably discharged. Came back with PTSD, couldn't hold down normal job. Got treatment at VA, waited 18 months for therapist. By then I'd lost my apartment, lost my car. He's telling his story matter-of-factly, no self-pity. Applied for disability, still waiting, been 3 years. Can't work full-time because of PTSD episodes. Can't afford rent on part-time, minimum wage. Can't get better job without address. Can't get address without job that pays enough. It's a loop with no exit. This is more complex than I usually hear. But we have programs for veterans specifically. Housing assistance, job programs, medical care. He nods patiently. I've tried them all, Jennifer, applied for everything. Know what the waiting list is for veteran housing. 2 years, minimum, and that's if you qualify, which I don't because I don't have custody of my kids. Priority goes to veterans with dependents. Didn't know the particular policy detail. I lost my kids in the divorce while I was struggling. Ex-wife got full custody. I get supervised visits. When I can afford the $50 fee and have transportation. Haven't seen them in 8 months. His voice breaks slightly on this part. The system says it wants to help veterans, but the actual help is rationed, restricted, delayed. And the help that exists goes to veterans with families. Veterans like me, single men, were lowest priority. Feel uncomfortable. This challenges my understanding. What about job training programs? We have those. He looks at me directly. I have a bachelor's degree in engineering, Jennifer. Worked for Boeing for 6 years before my deployment. I don't need job training. I need employers who will hire someone with PTSD and a homeless address, who will take a chance on a gap in my resume. This stops me cold. He's educated, experienced. Not what I assumed about him at all. See, you assumed I was uneducated, unskilled. That's what everyone assumes about homeless men. That we're here because we failed somehow. Because we're addicts or mentally ill or lazy. Feel ashamed that he's right. That was my assumption. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I have PTSD. I have bad days where I can't function. But I'm not an addict. I'm not crazy. I'm just a man who fell through every crack. And the system that claims to help isn't actually designed to help men like me. He shifts position, continues explaining. You know what's really messed up, Jennifer? The resources for homeless women versus homeless men. Women get priority for housing, for programs. They have domestic violence shelters, transitional housing. They have programs specifically for them. Feel defensive because women are more vulnerable. He nods. Sure, in some ways they are. But 65% of homeless are men. 80% of unsheltered homeless sleeping outside are men. 93% of homeless who die on the streets are men. But 70% of resources go to women and families. Statistics I've never heard presented this way. And before you say it's because men are dangerous, that we're the reason women need protection. I've never hurt anyone except in war when ordered to. I'm not dangerous. I'm just disposable. The word disposable hits hard, lingers in air. Society has decided that homeless men are less deserving, that our suffering is somehow our own fault, that we don't need the same care and resources because we're men and we should just figure it out. Want to argue, but can't find the words. You work in homeless outreach. You see it every day. How many times do you stop to help women versus men? How much more effort do you put into helping mothers? How much more sympathy do you have for them? Think about my caseload. He's absolutely right. I do focus more on women and families. Do spend more time, more energy on them. The men I mostly just hand resource cards to. It's not that I don't care about men too. It's just that women seem more vulnerable, more at risk. He nods like he expected this answer. And that's the problem, Jennifer, right there. You care, you're trying to help, you're a good person. But even you have internalized the idea that men's suffering matters less, that we're less worthy of intensive help. Feel tears coming, he's right, and it hurts. I was married for 10 years before the divorce, to a woman I loved, who I thought loved me. When I came back from Iraq different, struggling, she tried for a while, then gave up, said I wasn't the man she married anymore, that she deserved better than damaged goods. His pain is visible now, raw and real. When we divorced, I didn't fight for the house, didn't fight for custody, even though I should have, because I knew the system favors mothers, knew I'd lose anyway and go into debt trying. So I walked away with nothing. And she got everything, including my kids. Can't imagine the pain of losing your children. Every resource you've offered me requires an address, requires stability I don't have, requires jumping through hoops I can't reach, while dealing with PTSD, while sleeping outside, while trying to survive day to day. He looks at me intently. And the worst part is the invisibility. People walk past me every day, hundreds of people. Women clutch their purses, cross the street. Men avoid eye contact, pretend I don't exist. I'm just part of the urban landscape, a problem to ignore. Think about how I see homeless men versus women. He's right. Women I see as people needing help. Men I see as problem, potential threat, or just scenery. When women offer help like you do, it's always conditional. It's always about fixing me, changing me, getting me into programs designed by people who've never been homeless, never been male, never understood what it's like to be completely disposable. His voice is getting emotional now. I don't need your sympathy, Jennifer. I don't need you to feel sorry for me. I need a system that actually helps men, not just women and children, not just the people society deems worthy. Feel completely overwhelmed by this perspective. I served my country, I got a degree, I worked hard. I did everything right, everything society told me to do. And when I fell, when I needed help, the safety net everyone talks about wasn't there. Because I'm a man, and men are supposed to figure it out. He stands up, conversation clearly ending. So that's why I reject your sympathy. Your programs aren't for me. Your system doesn't work for men. I'm better off out here, maintaining my dignity, than in a shelter being treated like dangerous animal, or in programs designed for people who aren't like me. Feeling to say something to defend the work I do. Robert, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I do want to help. I do care about men too. He nods, not unkindly. I believe you, but caring isn't enough. The system needs to change. Resources need to be equal. Men need to be seen as worthy of help, not just as problems or perpetrators. He sits back down with his sign. I'll be here tomorrow if you want to talk more. But please don't offer me resources designed for women. Don't offer me shelters that are dangerous. Don't offer me programs I don't qualify for. Just see me as a human being who's suffering. That's all any of us want. Walk away from that corner completely shaken. Everything I thought I knew feels wrong now. Spend the rest of my route seeing homeless men differently. Not as problems or addicts or failures, but as people who fell through cracks in system I've been part of without questioning. Back at office that afternoon, look up the statistics. Everything Robert said checks out. Numbers are stark. Men are majority of homeless population, but minority of resources programs support. Die on streets at much higher rates. Stay homeless longer, have worse outcomes. And the programs we do have aren't designed for them. Built around assumptions about addiction and mental illness, when many are just economically displaced. Veterans waiting years for promised benefits. Men who lost everything in divorce. Men who can't get jobs without addresses. Start looking at our own program differently. 75% of our outreach time goes to women and families. Most of our funding is specifically for women's programs. Men get generic shelter referrals and resource cards. We spend minutes with them versus hours with women. Feel sick realizing I'm part of the problem. That my feminism has blinded me to men's suffering. Made me see them as less deserving, less vulnerable. When the reality is they're dying at higher rates. Next staff meeting, I bring it up cautiously. I think we need to examine our gender disparities and how we allocate resources and time. My coworkers look confused. What do you mean? We serve everyone equally. Pull out the data I've compiled. We spend 75% of our time on women who are 35% of homeless population. Men are 65% of homeless, but get 25% of our attention. They die at 3 times the rate of homeless women. But we focus almost exclusively on women. My boss, woman in her 50s, looks defensive. Women are more vulnerable. They need more intensive support. Men are more likely to be dangerous, to refuse help, feel frustrated. That's exactly the assumption. That's exactly what keeps men from accessing help. We see them as threats instead of people. Another coworker chimes in. Men have more privilege even when homeless. They're not dealing with period poverty or pregnancy. They're not as vulnerable to sexual assault. Robert's words echo in my head. Men are 80% of unsheltered homeless sleeping outside. 93% of homeless who die on the streets. How is that privilege? The room goes quiet, uncomfortable. I'm not saying we should stop helping women. I'm saying we need to help men equally. Stop seeing them as less deserving. Boss shuts it down. Our funding is specifically for women's programs. That's where the grants are, where the support is. If you want to help men, find funding for that. Realize the problem is systemic, beyond just our program. Funding priorities, grant structures, public sympathy, all directed toward women and children. Men are afterthought, assumed able to cope. Over the next few weeks, change how I work. Spend equal time with men, really listen to their stories. Learn about veteran benefits failing them, about custody battles that bankrupted them, about mental health crises with no support, about jobs lost to injury or illness, about families that abandon them. Each story is complex, human, heartbreaking, not the simple narrative of addiction and failure. Go back to Robert's corner the following week. Can we talk again? I ask. He looks surprised to see me. You came back. I've been thinking about what you said, about how the system fails men. You were right about all of it. He gestures for me to sit. What changed your mind? I looked at the data, talked to more men, saw the disparity in resources and support, realized my own bias in how I allocated time. He nods. That takes courage to admit. I want to do better, want to actually help, but I don't know how within current system. We talked for an hour about what would actually help. More shelter beds for men, safer conditions, faster VA processing for benefits, job programs that recognize existing skills, housing programs that don't require custody, mental health support that doesn't have 2-year wait. He's thought about this extensively, has solutions, not asking for handouts, asking for functional system. The problem is public sympathy, he explains. When people see homeless woman, they want to help. When they see homeless man, they see threat or failure. Until that changes, funding won't change. He's right about the perception problem, about how society views male suffering as deserved, as something men brought on themselves. What happened to you could happen to anyone. One medical crisis, one divorce, one job loss. And the safety net that's supposed to catch you doesn't exist if you're male. He nods. That's what people don't understand. They think homelessness is moral failure, when it's usually just economic reality, plus a system that allocates help unfairly. We exchange contact information. I promise to stay in touch, to advocate differently, to see the problem clearly. He thanks me for listening, for seeing him. Most people don't want to hear it, he says. Don't want to acknowledge men suffer too. Easier to maintain the narrative that men have it easier. Leave that conversation, change completely. Can't unsee what he's shown me about the system, about my own biases and assumptions, about how feminism can blind you to men's pain. Start writing articles about gender disparities in homeless services, about how men are majority of homeless but minority of support, about veteran homelessness crisis and failed promises. Get pushback immediately from feminist circles. You're centering men's issues. Women's issues should be the priority. Men have structural advantages even when homeless. But I keep writing, keep advocating, because Robert showed me the truth. That suffering deserves equal compassion regardless of gender. That men are dying in larger numbers on our streets, while we focus resources elsewhere. 6 months later, Robert gets into veteran housing. His benefits finally processed after 4-year wait. He calls to tell me, voice full of emotion, "I'm off the street, Jennifer. I have an apartment." That's amazing, Robert. I'm so happy for you. Thank you for seeing me, for listening, for not just offering me useless sympathy. Feel tears of joy for him. You changed how I see everything, how I do my work, how I think about homelessness. I should be thanking you. We stay in touch. He becomes advocate himself, speaks at city council about veteran homelessness, about the disparities in resources and support. His story, his perspective, changes minds, because he's living proof of the system's failure. TFW homeless man rejects your sympathy. TFW, he explains why the system fails men specifically. TFW, you realize men are 65% of homeless, but get 25% of resources. TFW, male homeless die at 3 times the rate of women. TFW, you've been part of the problem without knowing. TFW, your feminism made you see men as less deserving. TFW, he has bachelor's degree and you assumed he was uneducated. TFW, he's veteran waiting 4 years for promised benefits. TFW, the safety net only exists for women and children. TFW men are disposable even in their suffering. Still care about homeless women and families. Still advocate for women's resources and support. But now see that men suffer too, often more. That they die on streets in higher numbers. That they're invisible in their pain. That the system is fundamentally unequal. Robert taught me that with his honesty, with his willingness to explain instead of resent, with his humanity that I almost missed, because I saw him as problem instead of person. Now I advocate for all homeless people equally, not just the ones society deems worthy, not just the ones who fit neat victim narrative, but the men sleeping rough who are silently dying, while we focus our sympathy elsewhere. That's the real inequality, the one nobody wants to talk about. But Robert made me see it, and I can't unsee it now.